What if I told you there's a silent power inside you, just waiting for the right moment to emerge? A power that doesn't scream, doesn't force, doesn't beg. It simply steps back. It observes. It chooses. And when necessary, it stays quiet. In a world that insists you must always be available, accessible, ready to respond to everyone and everything, there is something truly revolutionary about the simple act of saying no. Or better yet, saying nothing. Silence, when it comes from awareness rather than repression, becomes a powerful form of healing. It's not absence. It's pure presence. A presence that refuses to be wasted. We've been conditioned to see silence as weakness, coldness, or detachment. But true silence, the kind that comes after awakening, is a sacred boundary. In this video we're going to dive deep into this idea. How silence and absence can become tools of emotional, spiritual, and psychological transformation. We'll talk about the burden of always being available, about what you lose when you never learn to step away, and more importantly, what you recover when you begin to protect yourself. This is for you, the one who always gives, who is always there for others but often absent for yourself. For the one tired of endless small talk, who feels invisible even when surrounded by people. You'll discover that absence is not abandonment, it's self-care. Silence is not rejection, it's emotional maturity. And unavailability is not a flaw, it might be your most honest way to come home to yourself. So take a deep breath, turn the world off for a few minutes, and reconnect with something you may have forgotten: the power of stepping back. Have you ever wondered why you feel so drained, even when your days aren't physically exhausting? Maybe what's wearing you down isn't the work, but the connections you maintain. Being emotionally available all the time is like leaving a faucet running. The energy flows out slowly until there's nothing left. And the hardest part? Even when you're empty, you keep giving. You keep replying to messages, answering calls, listening to endless stories. You've become a support system for everyone, except yourself. Not because you're weak, but because you were taught that love must be earned through effort. That constant presence proves your worth. But let me tell you something, it doesn't. Love that demands your self-erasure is not love, it's disguised dependency. The truth is, no one will return your energy if you don't learn to protect it. When you're always available, people stop checking if you're okay. They assume you're strong, that you can handle everything, that you don't need rest. But even the strongest people break, in silence. That collapse isn't sudden. It's made of small betrayals, the yes that should have been a no, the forced smile, the visit accepted out of guilt. And with each choice you drift further from yourself. The body stays present, but the soul is exhausted. That's when silence becomes medicine, not punishment. A space where you no longer have to explain, defend, or pretend. Just be quiet. And in that quiet, for the first time in a long time, you start to hear what you truly need. It's uncomfortable at first, the noise of others used to cover the emptiness. But that emptiness becomes fertile ground. A space for reconnection. A space for healing. There comes a point in every sensitive, empathic, generous person's life when the body screams what the mouth can no longer say. A moment when the soul, overloaded by years of self-abandonment, whispers uncomfortable truths. You don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to save everyone. You don't have to keep explaining yourself to be understood. And these truths, though simple, crash against everything you've been taught. Many of us grew up believing our value lies in being useful. That the more available we are, the more lovable we become. But what happens when you step back? When you leave a message unanswered, skip a meeting, or choose silence over justification? The world reacts. Some people pull away. Others question you. And some reveal that they were only around for what you gave, not who you are. This is the turning point, the moment absence reveals what presence could not. And yes, it's painful. You start to see that many relationships were held together by your one-sided effort. But it's also liberating. For the first time, you're letting the world meet your truth, not the version built to please, but the one that chooses when and how to give. Jung said, "What you resist, persists. What you ignore, dissolves." When you stop reacting, stop explaining, and start stepping back, something shifts. The cycle of exhaustion breaks. Silence becomes a filter. It shows who truly misses you, and who just misses the access they had to you. Most importantly, it gives you back something precious. The sound of your own inner voice. The one you silenced for too long to keep others comfortable. That voice is the beginning of a new life. One where you stop begging for space and start occupying it with dignity and quiet power. True transformation doesn't come through emotional explosions or dramatic decisions. It starts in the details. It starts when you choose not to reply right away to a message that brings you anxiety. When you take a deep breath before accepting an invitation you don't want. When you listen to your intuition, even when it tells you something difficult like, "This no longer belongs to you." These small acts of silence, repeated daily, create a new frequency around you. At first you may feel guilty like you're abandoning others. But in truth you're finally choosing not to abandon yourself. Silence is unsettling for those who used to control you through your constant availability. The people who relied on your endless yes will push back. They'll try to bring back the version of you that always fixed things. And you'll feel tempted to go back. But each time you choose silence over explanation, you send a powerful message: my peace is a priority. And something miraculous happens. Your energy, once drained, begins to refill. Your body rests. Your emotions stabilize. Your mind clears. Because now there's space between the stimulus and your response. That space is sacred. It's where your inner strength lives. And as your energy returns, so does the respect. First from others, then from yourself. You begin to realize that you never had to burn out to be accepted. You never had to break to be loved. Your absence becomes your protection. And your silence, your most powerful form of self-respect. But this process isn't only psychological, it's deeply spiritual. There's a reason sages, mystics, and spiritual masters across all traditions have always sought silence. They knew there's a frequency that only reveals itself when the world quiets down. That some answers only come when the ego stops trying to control. Silence in this way is not the absence of sound, but the presence of soul. When you consciously withdraw, you're not becoming cold or indifferent. You're honoring a deeper truth. Your energy is sacred and should not be drained by unbalanced connections. There's something mystical about disappearing. It's like saying to the universe, I trust. I trust that I don't need to chase, don't need to beg, don't need to force myself into places where there's no mutual presence. And that kind of trust shifts everything. When you stop chasing, what's aligned finds you. Your energy changes. Your presence evolves. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with your new vibration. Because silence, when it comes from truth, becomes magnetic. Not because you're trying to impress, but because your peace is rare. It doesn't rely on chaos to feel alive. This is the true spiritual power of silence. It reconnects you to the essence you forgot, buried beneath urgency, people-pleasing, and fear. When you silence yourself, you're not shrinking, you're expanding. You gain access to higher levels of consciousness. Your intuition sharpens. Your vision becomes clear. And life begins to unfold with more ease. Silence then is not a break, it's a path. A portal. A deep alignment between body, mind, and spirit. So if you've made it this far, maybe that silent voice inside you has already been calling out. A subtle but persistent whisper asking for space, for rest, for reconnection. And no, that's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's your soul reminding you of something the world wants you to forget. That your presence only has value when it's not taken for granted. That self-love isn't just about affirmations but protection. And protecting your energy, your limits, and your peace is the highest act of love. From now on, allow yourself to disappear from places where your light is treated as ordinary. Allow yourself not to respond immediately. Allow yourself not to explain. Allow yourself to exist in silence. Because in that silence you'll find yourself again. And in finding yourself you'll begin to love yourself. And in loving yourself you'll begin to respect yourself. And in respecting yourself, you'll become a magnet for relationships, choices, and paths that also respect you. This is how transformation begins. Not in massive external changes, but in small, internal shifts. In conscious pauses. In intentional absences. In silences filled with meaning. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." Maybe this is your moment to awaken. To let the world move at its frantic pace, while you choose a new rhythm. One where every step is conscious. Every word is truthful. And every silence is a sacred act of reconnection. You don't need to scream to be heard. Sometimes, it's in the silence that your soul speaks loudest. And those who are truly ready to hear you, will feel it. Even if you say nothing at all.